Hi, I'm Jim Riley. Welcome to a special edition of All the Right Connections. I have my old compatriots here today. James Reynolds, President of Mid-Hudson Cablevision.
Jim.
Thanks for joining us today.
Always
a
pleasure.
Busy you are. We appreciate it. Dave Fingar, Chief Engineer. That's what I'm going to get. I'll give you a new title every time he's done. Thanks for joining us, Dave. We appreciate it. It's all about technology today. So tell us what the roadmap is today.
Well, I'd like to know what you have on this table over here, Jim.
It's all mine, too, by the way. I meant to tell you
this is a lot of toys over here.
Well, the thing is, everybody has these. That's what we're talking about today. Everyone has these in the home, and go through the litany of what they are. Give us a little description of some of these.
I'd like to start off first with this, because this is a smartphone.
Right.
And it works off of the Verizon 4G network. But as soon as you walk in your house, guess what happens?
What is it?
It switches to your Wi-Fi. If you're connected to Mid-Hudson broadband, when you walk into the house, this thing starts consuming bandwidth. And you like it because it's a better performance.
Right, and that's what you want, but it does consume bandwidth. And as we go through these,
so
modems,
if you want to watch a movie on your smartphone, go inside.
Dave was smiling. He knows I like to watch the movies. So, but as we look at that, that's just one item.
Correct.
Now we're talking about modems.
These are cable modems, and there's different types of cable modems. And I think it's important to note that we've got customers that have that pay for bigger packages
right.
of internet speed, and if they have a bigger package, they need to get one of the newer modems because it'll improve their performance.
Right, but it also, again, takes more bandwidth.
Yes, this is what connects all of these devices.
Right.
This box here is an Xbox, and
these are the games the kids play.
It's an older one.
Right, but
it still consumes a lot of bandwidth. And let me just, if I can, show you this chart.
Sure.
This is a graph. We have the ability to monitor the utilization of bandwidth. And we noticed that about 6 or 7 o'clock at night, utilization starts to climb. As people come home, they start using all these devices.
Right.
This Xbox or gaming device uses, if you see this green area,
right.
all of that bandwidth. It's a huge consumer of internet services.
Right, and that's a constant usage.
Well, until they go to sleep. Now,
right.
When does a gamer go to sleep?
Not very often.
It could
maybe
be
every other day.
I'm told that this utilization starts to grow at 6 or 7 o'clock,
right.
up through midnight on to 1 or 2 o'clock, and then it'll drop off until the next morning.
Right.
And so that's just this one device. Now,
right.
This other box here that has rabbit ears on it, this is a device that allows cameras to work. So if somebody has some cameras, they're consuming broadband.
By the way, your phone's still going off as well.
It is.
Because it never stops.
And that's a point that we really want to impress upon our subscribers, is that we used to think how many people are in a house that we're providing service to, but it's really not how many people. It's how many of these devices.
That's
because
correct.
You could have somebody that has a smartphone. They've got one application that they're streaming content on their smartphone. Because it's switched off of Verizon's 4G network, they can't support the streaming.
Right.
Then you've got an iPad mini, you've got iPads, they could have some other application there. They can be on Facebook on their laptop, they can be streaming content from Netflix on the TV.
Right.
One person.
Well, actually, Dave, it's not Ken, they are doing it.
They are doing it. In the early days, it was just a desktop computer.
Right.
You go online and get your email. You might look at a couple of websites, and then you would get off, and your kids would get on one computer.
Right.
And it grew to 2, and then, as James says, all of these devices, and everyone has one.
Right.
Or two.
Or two.
That's what I'm saying. Within the household, Dave, and we're focusing on technology now, the fact is that all of these have come along and they're using it constantly, correct?
Constantly, the bandwidth use keeps going up. And that's, I guess, part of what we're here to talk about today is what we're doing at Mid-Hudson to accommodate that and to allow that.
Right.
Because it used to be we only needed this much bandwidth, and now it's this much bandwidth.
Right. Before we went on, we used the analogy of air conditioning in the summer. You want to talk about that a little bit, James?
Well, I think it's appropriate because the power companies, this time of year, when it gets summertime, when it gets warm, their demand spikes because on warm days and evenings, people utilize air conditioning, which consumes a lot of power. And people know that when they turn their air conditioning system on, it's going to end up at the end of the month, they're going to have a larger bill. It'll cost more.
Yeah, they're going to see the impact.
The power company has to monitor their power grid, their network, and see where utilization is growing, and then they have to change the network, invest in infrastructure, electronics or whatever, to manage the flow of power so that there's enough power so all of the air conditioners work.
Right.
Much the same for us. We have to, with the graph that I was showing you, watch all parts of our system, and as we see the demand for internet growing, using all these devices that we're talking about, and maybe some we're not, that we don't have here, we've got to make an investment and put more electronics in to keep it going. As a point in fact, Netflix, which is one of the most popular services now that people stream content from, we noticed that on the weekends, it's consuming about 30% of the available bandwidth.
That's enormous, enormous. So Dave, we're looking at this. This is what people use.
Right.
On the other end, what is it that you deal with, the technology?
Well, the cables in the middle, the wires that run down the street,
Right.
were recently upgraded in the past several years, are in very good shape to handle all these
Right.
increases in bandwidth. But at either end of that, you have the electronics that are in our head end and our hub sites that are under constant barrage and constantly needing to be upgraded and changed. And then the devices that the customer has in their home. Those we're looking at changing as well.
Right.
That's what those modems are there.
Right, and that's the thing that we're really talking about. We're talking about how many miles that you deal with, James?
11 to 1,200 miles. And I think a point that's very important to make, we at one point had an architecture where we had our main facility where we receive all the signals from the programming services and all of the internet and all the different services we provide at one location, central location.
Right.
But because of the demand, we're having to create new areas, new hub sites
Right.
throughout our service area because of the demand that's growing, and they're predicting it's going to grow or double every 18 months as new content is introduced.
There's no question.
So we've moved to these hub sites, and we've had to install more equipment there to accommodate this, and it's likely we're going to have to make further investments down the line.
So the question for both of you gentlemen is, how do you make all this happen?
Well, it's a lot of hard work. It's monitoring the network. It's trying to predict what the consumption is going to be. But like we said, if you have a situation where you have one individual with multiple devices, that household's going to consume a lot of bandwidth, and we can't really project what people are going to want to do, and so it's going to cost a lot more money for the service as we go down the line. It's similar, like we were saying, to air conditioning and the power company.
Right.
If you use it, you pay more, and ultimately, we're not at that point yet, but ultimately, we're going to get to a place where people that use a lot will have to pay for a higher package, and they'll pay more for the internet service. But they're getting so much more than they've ever gotten before, and there's so many ways to apply it.
One of the problems we've had with the show, Dave, and you know this for sure, it's hard to translate this for the people who are watching at home, what it actually means, what it actually looks like. How about taking us on a tour and showing us some of the background?
I think that would be very helpful because, you know, all of these devices are wonderful advances in technology, But to keep them going is a huge undertaking. And to send a movie to this smartphone is different than sending it to this iPad or to the laptop or to the TV screen. They're all different formats. It's a lot of additional electronics. So let's go take a look at one of our hub sites.
When we get right back from a couple of these messages, we're going to take you out on the road to look at some of this groundwork that's going on.
Welcome to Smart Home from Mid-Hudson Cable, a monitoring solution that brings the power of video to protect your family and home. Using cameras installed by Mid-Hudson Cable technicians, you can check in on your pets, be notified when your children get home, or look in on the nanny. Starting at just $14.95 a month, use your smartphone to monitor your home or business. Call today to learn how Smart Home can help you.
James, we're on the road. What are we doing here?
We are on location, Jim, and this is one of our remote hub sites where we service probably 5,000 or more customers with the internet. And so with the secret door knock, I'd like to introduce you to Steve Renault, our Chief Technical Officer.
Hi, Jim. How are you, Jim?
Good, Steve. I got the microphone here. Say nice to see you again, Jim.
Can we do this over?
No, keep going. Keep smiling. You're doing good.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Good,
Nice to
good,
see you.
Good. Can we come in and visit?
Sure. Come on in and check it out.
Steve, thanks so much for inviting us here today. We appreciate it.
No problem, Jim. Nice to see you.
Good. It's always good to see you. This is the only time I get a chance to see you. Give us a little tour of the facility.
Okay.
Here.
Well, basically, when we're talking about customer speeds and broadband, where does it all come from?
Exactly.
Basically, each customer is connected to a node, and it's basically just a group of customers. We break it down depending on demographics and geography. So over here we have what we call our downstream lasers, and this is basically where the customers come back to, where their internet, it comes from coax in their house to a fiber optic node, and that node comes back to here, to this hub site. We have several hub sites located throughout the counties.
Right.
And this is where it gets converted from a coax environment or from the cable that's in their house to the internet. And so as consumption grows, we need to add additional pieces of equipment to handle the traffic and to upgrade the speeds to keep things on and keep it fast for the customers.
As you said, you've told me this before, if the service is just is going to be satisfying unless you have that level of speed, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people want to be able to stream Netflix and have it stream without buffering, and that takes a lot of investment, a lot of equipment, and of course a lot of money. Just in this hub site alone, this equipment here is well over in the millions of dollars.
Now, tell me about this unit right here.
This is a broadband services router. We call it a BSR, and this is where it converts it from coax to IP or to the internet. And this is what we add additional blades or cards as we need to upgrade and allow more bandwidth or more capacity to each customer.
So in fact, you have to add. It isn't just a set system. Once you set it, it's finished.
Oh no! I mean, we constantly have to add equipment. I mean, no sooner that we plan and deploy an upgrade, we're working on the next upgrade, because every 9 to 18 months the utilization is doubling, if not tripling.
Now, you're a big user, so you know just how powerful this is, but how it's important it is to deliver great service. This is what's required, right?
Oh, absolutely. We live by the motto, it's got to be on and it's got to be fast. If it's not on, it's not fast, people aren't going to be happy and not going to be able to enjoy the services that the internet has to offer.
What about power outages? What do you do to make sure things keep running?
Okay, in this facility here, we have a standby power. First, it'll switch. If power's lost, we'll switch over to batteries, and that gives us enough time for our standby generators to kick on automatically, and we can withstand, several days without power, in this hub site and others.
You have to have this because you have to deliver the service.
Yes, I mean people's phones depend on this. Many people work from home, or they're want to watch movies, or children want to play games, and of course it's got to be on.
So Steve, let me ask you this: you have multiple hubs now. Do you see more in the future?
Oh yeah. So this year and last year we just got done completing 2 new hub sites, and as things grow, we got to push equipment further and further towards the customer. So it's a constant building process. It's a big jigsaw puzzle.
Now, again, being a big user yourself, there's going to be more and more devices as well.
Oh yeah, I mean everyone's got a smartphone or an iPod or iPad, and plus a TV and PC. So everything connects to the internet now. So it's not just the old days of just having a computer. It's everything.
Appreciate it. Again, this is Steve, and I can't remember the last name, so we're going to have to shoot this again. It's really good. Renault, I got it. You got. I'm going to keep going. Steve, thanks so much for spending time. Steve Renault, he's the Chief Technical Officer of Mid-Hudson Cablevision, and you can see just what an investment it takes and what it requires to keep building this system for great service. James, I want to thank you for inviting us today to visit with Steve Renault, Chief Technical Officer. Important people see this, right?
Jim, we just glad to have the opportunity to share with our subscribers some of the investment and some of the commitment that we're making to keep their internet fast and let them stream Netflix and use all the services on all those devices that we showed earlier in the show.
By the way, Steve, he did tell me he's going to give me a couple of devices after the show's over. Steve, thanks so much. Constantly upgrading, constantly changing, improvements all the time, right?
That's right, Jim. It was a pleasure, and it's always a challenge, but it's a lot of fun.
James, the investment is going to pay off for them in the way of service. It's something that you can be very proud of.
Thank you, Jim. We're trying to keep up with this. It's a moving target, but we're going to keep at it and keep making the investment.
Right. And we appreciate you joining us on All the Right Connection. This is a special edition. We look forward to seeing you again real soon.